Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be back for this episode of the Women on Top because today I have somebody who is sitting in front of me who not only inspires me on a whole different level, but I actively use her products to help me with my own health, my own digestion. And today I have sitting with me Bridgitte Mallinson, who is a functional medicine dietitian. She is a business mentor as well. And really, she's the founder of and CEO of GutPersonal, which GutPersonal is a female-owned supplement company that also is just really empowering women to take their health back and to eliminate those gut issues and all of the other things associated with our health issues for good. So during the pandemic, Bridgitte really went on this wild excursion of building and scaling her business and ended up succeeding in not only building one business, but two businesses to multi seven figures. And that happened in under 3 years. So she is a business savvy guru, if we can put it lightly. And she has a big vision to empower women to improve their health and just furthermore their wealth, which we're going to talk about more. So welcome, Bridgitte. I'm so thankful that you're here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to chat with you.
Yeah. So I want to just kind of dive on in. I know that there's a statistic, and I think this maybe actually came from you, that over 70 million Americans suffer with digestive diseases. And so were you one of those people?
Oh my gosh, I was diagnosed with IBS. And what we say at GutPersonal is IBS is BS because it's really not empowering you of how you can change that, right? Digestive diagnosis, especially, can be solved. And I think, when we give them a diagnosis, we give them a lot of power that we can't change them. So yeah, I had IBS my whole life.
Oh, wow. So what is IBS? If somebody hasn't been diagnosed with that, what does that typically mean for somebody?
So typically, just having gut issues like bloating, stomach aches, cramping, you might have diarrhea, which they call IBS-D, or constipation that they call IBS-C. But really, you don't have to be diagnosed with it to have it.
Yeah.
And even if you have it, there's a lot you can do to get rid of it.
What is the cause? Did you ever kind of figure out, because I know you've been through, I think, your own journey of not just IBS, but other things, right? And so what was the process of unearthing that and just figuring out what actually worked for you? I want the whole, the whole picture.
Yeah. So I'll take you back. I'm taking you all the way back. I was 12 years ago in school to become a registered dietitian. And this is not where my story starts, but this is the juicy part. I was becoming a dietitian, yet I had ADHD, hypothyroidism, which basically means my thyroid wasn't working, constipation, so diagnosed actually with IBS-C, and then migraines. I was going to different doctors for all these different things. I was on 5 different medications. When I was a 21-year-old, I was eating healthier than anyone else in college. I was exercising. I was doing all the things to support my body, yet my body was completely failing me.
Yeah.
And so doctors and especially specialists were not giving me answers. And they were like, oh, your labs are normal, but here's a medication to fix that. Well, prior to this, I, was a student athlete that had a lot of concussions. I was a child who was on a lot of antibiotics. If you're a 90s kid or an 80s kid, right? We were put on a lot of antibiotics as kids. And then it's just a whole host of things that really cause this health struggle. And then when I wasn't getting answers, it was super frustrating. And then I found functional medicine. And instead of saying you have all these diagnoses, take 5 different medications to feel better, functional medicine says, but why? Why do you have gut issues? Why do you have migraines and thyroid issues? And so when I found functional medicine, I did a poop test, which is something that we do still to this day. I got
Love it.
personal. I did a poop test and it told me that my gut was just a mess. And within a couple months of doing this poop test and getting on personalized supplements, my health completely changed. I was off 5 different medications. My body felt amazing. I felt so clear. My brain fog went away. Like all these things that I normalized as a woman went away. And I felt so empowered in my life. And that's my health journey. And, like I said, that was now a decade ago. But
So,
yeah.
5 medications, you're young. And I feel like, honestly, when I hear you talk about this, I feel like this is so common. Like to this
Yes.
day, I feel like this is just like the recipe that we're using to handle the health situations that come up, which is so unfortunate. And so, I guess like it, I have a couple questions. I have a lot of questions, but is
I
this
love it.
where the motivation for Gut Personal started? Like, is that the journey of the beginning? Like, where's the beginning of, okay, you know what? I'm going to start creating something that is
Yeah.
going to help, especially women take their health back. Where was that moment?
Yeah. So it was the precipice to, wanting to start Gut Personal. I think there's some of us that we have an idea and it takes a while for the right time to come about or for us to actually take action on it. And so when I healed my gut, that was about 10 years ago, then I was an entrepreneur. So I worked in more corporate spaces, but I always created my own role
Mm.
within other companies. And I did that for many years. One of those, I was working under another private practice dietitian. And then I moved from that to being a director of nutrition at a holistic pharmacy. So part of my role within that was not only helping women one-on-one fix their gut using poop testing, using supplements. I was actually a supplement buyer. So I would determine which supplements would come into the pharmacy. And I knew those super high quality supplements. People would come into the pharmacy and be like, okay, I'm bloated and constipated. What should I take? And so I was always like, this is amazing that like someone can come in, ask an expert,
Yeah.
and based on their symptoms, I can give them here, let's do this, this, and this. And so I was like, why are no companies doing that? Like, I worked in retail, I worked in a physical location. People could come into the physical location and I could give them recommendations. But why aren't the actual supplement companies giving more personalization?
Mm-hmm.
So that was like 2018. And then pandemic hit. I quit that job, took my business online, and my first business online was all service, no supplements. So I was just helping women one-on-one with their gut health. We have a group program that still runs today. And then again, there was like that voice that was like, but you're meant to help millions of women, Bridgitte. Like you're not just meant to help hundreds, which is amazing. You're meant to help millions. And that was 2021. And we launched Gut Personal in 2021 to help millions of women.
During the pandemic.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
During the pandemic, a product-based company. This is no small feat.
No small feat. And honestly, as the years go on, it's still no small feat because, during the pandemic, so many businesses, including my own, especially in 2020 and 2021, businesses were booming. Money was so, like
Yeah.
flowing for most people. And then, as we hit 2022, 2023, really 2023 and 2024, we see this like economic dip that for a lot of us female-owned small businesses was a
Mhm.
little tough, to be honest.
Yeah. What's your opinion about why companies don't make it more personalized? You said you recognize that was happening and then you wanted to create that. But why do you think that that's still, because it's still not happening very often at all? So, what's your thought about
Yeah.
that?
I think there's two different things. One, if you have a product-based business like I do, you're really focused on scale and more people. So and people have asked me this all the time, as you guys keep growing, will you keep offering this? And it's like, yes, because that is the mission of our company, is to be more personalized, because then we will help more women. So I think some companies are just really focused on, okay, can an influencer sell to hundreds of people? Can Facebook ads sell? You know what I mean? It's not focused on deeper connection for deeper results.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. And then potentially, like, they just don't see the value,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
sad, which is sad.
Yes.
But, that's why we're different.
Yeah. And I love that about the approach that you have with your company. I'm curious as well. So, what was the first product? Was it magnesium? Did you start there? And if so, I just want to kind of hear the journey of why that was the first product that you created.
Yeah. So we launched with the whole line.
Okay.
Magnesium was always my vision of it would be the best-selling product, which it is.
Really?
Yes, it's by far the best-selling product. Um, our magnesium powder, and then we also have capsules as number two. So it's like one and two.
We have
Um,
both in this house.
I know, right? Most people do. You gotta have options.
Yes.
So what was funny was with my vision with Gut Personal and naming the different products, I've named every single product. The Miracle Worker, which is our magnesium, was like, that came to my mind first, of like, magnesium is such a miracle worker. It's such a life-changing product. But then we launched with like seven products, like a whole lineup.
Okay, so you kind of came out with a whole bunch of different things. With magnesium, can you say a little bit more about it as a supplement, as something that most Americans are deficient in, and why
Yeah.
this is such a big deal?
Yes, literally like what you said. Most Americans are deficient. I would say 98% of women are deficient. Us women, especially ambitious women, we run through more magnesium, and our food is super deficient. So we have more stress, we're more high powered, and then also, our body uses more magnesium. So it really helps with sleep and stress, nervous system calmness. It also helps with tight muscles and going to the bathroom. So it's pretty much fixes 70% of women's issues.
Wow. I mean, it's so staggering to me, like how powerful this is, and that it is out there, but it's not quite out there in at the level where people realize
Yeah.
the vitality that can come with something as simple as taking a supplement. And if you don't have their powder, it's like, I love the powder because it just tastes so good. so
Same.
uh, I just am so glad that you are tackling, this situation for women's needs. And I love that it's kind of come out of your own, like looking at something that had a lack. So I'm curious, from the time Gut Personal was born, I feel like I talked to a lot of like entrepreneurs and business owners. Was it because you were angry that there wasn't a solution, or was it because you were motivated and excited to create something? Because usually I feel like it's one of two options. Like entrepreneurs are
Yes.
either like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired to create something, I have to go create this, or they're like kind of pissed off that it
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And so they're using that as motivation to go create something just because they're so like not desperate, but almost.
Yeah. Probably like the motivated and inspired side. I would say too, like from the clinical side of things, from being a dietitian, I know there were great options out there, but like their marketing is so uninspiring. Clinician and medical grade supplements, their marketing sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think potentially what does piss me off now is the influencer brands that are shitty supplements.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
yeah.
how do you even know, right? Like, so that's another question. What do you know to look for? So if there's a woman out there who's struggling and she's like, gosh, what do I take? And how do I know if it's a good supplement versus a bad supplement? What's your
Yeah.
advice on that?
Oh my God. I mean, it's hard. Like, there's a lot of things that you'd have to do a lot of research on a company to figure out if it's good or bad. Me, I can like look at the ingredients label and be like, oh, this greens powder has like inulin and chicory root, and those are prebiotics that'll make you feel bloated, so don't take that.
Mm.
Um, but it's hard, honestly, to like determine is this a good supplement or not. They need to be third party tested, which really looks at, heavy metals and are they actually putting in the supplement what they say they are? Because there's not regulation around that.
Yeah.
We have to regulate ourselves. I have to send our products to a third party lab to get tested to make sure, okay, this doesn't have arsenic in it.
Jeez.
I know.
Well,
So it's tough, but if anyone has a question on a specific one, they can shoot me a DM.
I think why that's also why I'm really inspired to, see companies like yours that are not only female owned, but that are trusted brands.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's like I can buy any supplement from you and I know it's going to be really good quality. And that
Yeah.
matters so much because I don't have time to honestly, like, I just don't have time to go research all this crap. And I'm not an expert in it either, but I certainly
Yes.
don't want arsenic in it. And I want something that's going to work for me. And
Yeah.
so thank you for kind of just shedding a little bit of light, especially around the testing. I think that that's a really big deal. And that also brings me to think about, you have this product based company. I know there's been challenges that you faced. And I'd love to just kind of hear, because, there's women out there who listen to this that are inspired to create a product based company or have one already. What are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned? And I think I'll just start there. What are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned that maybe you weren't expecting? Throw that in there.
So a product-based business is expensive to run. We have to buy the product. We have to have more team than a service-based business. There's so many expenses that going in to run, especially a super high quality company. You'll see companies on Shark Tank
Yeah.
where, like, I watch that all the time, where they have one person working for a seven-figure company, and you're like, that person is burning out and there's no way customer service or quality is there.
Right.
And so I really care about those things. I care about that our customers and our clients get the best support. And I care about a lot of things as a small business that are expensive things to care about. I care
Yeah.
about quality of our supplements. We don't cut corners. I was even like, we have a prenatal product that I created while I was pregnant with my daughter. And we went to our manufacturer who's actually in Southern California. And the guy was like, you can make this cheaper by making it like less quality, right? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, we will not cut quality. I won't cut amounts. I won't, the quality of the ingredients. And so I think that's been challenging, like the cost of running this type of company. And we are female funded too. So most of my investors are females, women,
I love that.
definitely women on top. So yeah, I think that's the most challenging thing to running a product-based business is that it costs a lot of money.
And so, why do you do it? And I know that that's a very simple question, but truly, like, what keeps you going when you are this close to throwing in the towel and moving to Tahiti and being like, I'm done?
I mean, absolutely. I had this gosh, I had this thought recently, actually, right before I saw you in person the last time, where this is probably a couple months ago, where I was feeling like this. What if I just went back to my corporate job? Like, I would never do that, but I was feeling handcuffed to my business. And I had to come back to my why. And, I spoke at an event that you were at, and that helped me come back to my why, which is not only the health of women, but also the wealth and the empowerment of women. We are very complex beings, right? We have a lot of desires, and like myself, a lot of us can go on to being moms, which adds a whole level of complexity. And having the confidence and the motivation to continue to do it all, it takes a lot of focus. Um, but I did come back to my why, and it really is both the health and then the wealth of women, my investors, I care about deeply. And then I really care about changing how women feel. And, if someone can take magnesium and it can change their entire life, then like that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I really love that you came back to your why, which feels very centered around women
Yeah.
specifically and
Yes.
women's health. So
Yeah,
I think you have a daughter.
I do.
And what are you hoping to impart on her as lessons that you've learned from this journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest is that you get to go after your desires. You get to go after your hopes and dreams, even if they sound crazy to other people. I have huge hopes and dreams for my end goal for Gut Personal. And that's my why, of course, but like you can be all the things that you want to be in this lifetime. I can be a mom who's really soft and present and joyful, and I love doing arts and crafts. And then I can also be a badass business owner who is super successful and holds her team accountable and is scaling a company even though she doesn't have an MBA. Like I can be both of those things. You can be all of the things. You just have to have practices to turn one off and turn one on.
And what are those practices for you?
Breathing is huge, like being
Mhm.
present is huge. Um, Honestly, leaving my house is a big one. Right now I'm at a co-working space and I used to, for like the first year of her life, work from home. And I'm like, I can't hear her cry while I'm on a podcast.
Yeah.
That'll bring me into mom mode because she comes first. You know what I mean? Like if she's crying, even if she's fine, even if she's taken care of, that's going to bring me into mom mode when I want to be here with you and super present and focused on boss mode.
I love that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that kind of figuring out where those parameters are so you can exist in both spaces and in all spaces.
yeah,
Because to your point, like we're multidimensional, like multi hyphenate humans.
yeah,
So you talk a lot about this, and I loved how you shared this at the event that we met at, but that health is wealth.
yeah.
Can you say more about that? And did you always believe that was the case?
Yeah, I always deeply valued health for sure. Like I come from a family where health is really important and we value it a lot and taking care of ourselves. And um, I think as I've come into the business space personally, it's been like more of a journey of like, if you want to be successful in your career, if you want to be successful as a business owner or in your career in general, really, then you have to take care of your health or you can't continue to grow. And, we know that your health really affects like your brain power.
Hmm.
And many women struggle with brain fog all the time. So it's these things that like you really can't crush it in your life and in business and in your career if you feel like crap all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And that's something that I feel like for myself, I had to learn because you normalize all of this, right? Like we normalize so easily. And at the same time, you want to be a high performer. And I don't know why I didn't put the two and two together, but I feel like sometimes until you're shown that or you learn that or you go through something hard, you don't realize that to be a high performer, you actually have to take like these things are crucial. It's not just like a nice to have, which is something I think I was doing. It was like, oh, I'll take care of that eventually, or I'll deal with these symptoms eventually. And this is just part of it. You're just always tired and we're always grinding it out, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, I think you're right about health being wealth.
Yeah. So important.
So, you mentioned that you have some really big goals for Gut Personal.
Yeah.
Are you able to share any of those with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my goal is to sell Gut Personal for $300 million.
Oh, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
This-
So that has been on my heart since the beginning. Actually, the number started with 130. I saw 130 in a deep meditation, and then a year later, it was really like 300 million was the number. And so I have advisors around me who have done that. So it's not far out from reality. And so yeah, that it's to show women that we can do this. We can be a mom or a woman without an MBA and be really successful and have a heart-centered business that's doing good in the world and be really successful. So that's my end goal as a business is sell for 300 million.
That is an amazing goal. And I feel like you are well on your way to that. And I love that you're just putting it out there. Like it's really vulnerable to put that out there. So thank you for being so willing to
Oh,
just share
thank
that
you.
with people. Do you have someone who's like a mentor to you or that you kind of go to? Because I would feel intimidated, like going after something like that without having someone kind of alongside of me or just cheering me on in some sort of way. So,
Oh my gosh. I have so many mentors. I have hired mentors. I have contracted like advisor equity mentors. I'd say my biggest mentor for that goal is my godfather. So he is in private equity and he helped build Dry Bar and TRX
oh
and oh my God, Jenny's Ice Cream and
my
all of these
gosh.
amazing companies. And has sold them for nine figures to even his best sale was like $1 billion. And so he has been a huge like motivator and expander for me in my life. A really cool thing, even though he's a male, is he usually and does invest in a lot of female founded companies because he knows how good of leaders we are. And so even though I didn't see that growing up, that, okay, I didn't see a female founded business selling for 300 million, like close to me.
Yeah.
I saw him investing in it and that being really successful. So he's a huge expander and mentor for me. And I just had a call with him yesterday and he like throws these ideas out there and he's like, well, did you think about this? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a really big change. But then, I usually have 1 to 2 mentors that I hire at any given time. And then I'm usually in masterminds too, to put me in the room and expand what I believe is possible.
Mm, so good because it's great to hear of somebody that, I think a lot of people would in some sort of way, or maybe this is just me, put you a little bit on a pedestal. And so it's always helpful to hear what it really takes and like all the support that's required to go into something like this because it's
I just
incredibly
want to share too. I mean, we are very far away from selling for $300 million. I have so much work ahead of me. So, there are big doubts that come up, and I want to normalize that because
yeah.
I think there are people that, put me on a pedestal. Oh, you've been successful. You built 7-figure businesses so quickly. Yeah, I built 7-figure businesses really quickly. I've never built an 8-figure business. Yet I want to sell for 9 figures. So there's so much ahead of me that I haven't done. But having the belief in myself and that I can figure it out, one of our core values at GutPersonal is everything is figure outable. And just knowing like putting my foot one step in front of the other instead of saying, okay, we have to like 100x in order to sell for that right now. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate just normalizing this too, because it just helps humanize the experience.
Yeah.
Because no matter who we talk to, people are going through something similar in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's just really helpful to hear some of the hard stuff. And that takes me to another point where I'm just curious, like, if you're also willing to share what's something that real time, you're struggling with kind of the most right now. And the reason I
Mhm.
ask that is because a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts, we ask about the things you've already overcome. And so I'm just curious to hear about, what's something you can share right now that you're trying to overcome or
Mhm.
get to the other side of.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this company is really expensive. And so, like, to run,
Yeah.
and I don't have experience in like cash flow and how much money you need in the bank to do X, Y, and Z. And so, what we're working on right now is I've had two fractional CFOs in the past. They didn't work out. And so it's taken like 9 months to find a new CFO. So we just hired her. We're still in the weeds though of figuring out like what can we afford tomorrow or what can we afford 6 months from now? There's like a lot of cash flow management and then we're fundraising right now. So
Mm.
I'm fundraising from angels. I just had oh my God, 3, 4 calls already this week. I have more the
Wow.
end of the week. And so we're fundraising like $500,000 from women like you who, are amazing, ambitious women who are like, hey, I want to try this out, this angel investing thing. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's really exciting to hear about, but I can only imagine the stress behind that. And so
Oh, yes.
it's sometimes both, right? Like I feel like it's a challenge, but it's also like this amazing thing that could could go really well too.
Yes.
So
It is
yeah.
good and it is going well, but it can get sticky, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yes.
I think too, when people hear you have a successful business, that means you're taking home a lot of money. And I've like from when I first launched my business, I pay myself way less now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's good to hear too. That is also really good to hear because I think we sexify that's, I don't know if that's a word, but
yes.
entrepreneurship, like, being a small business owner and entrepreneur and everyone wants to do it. And I don't think we've always seen all sides of it. Like, do you
Mhm.
love it so much that you're willing to make less than what you're making
Yeah.
now? Like, that's just a
Oh
good
yeah.
first start, like, right?
Yeah. And it
Much
doesn't
less.
always have to be like that. But like I said, I chose a product to move. I distinctly chose to make less for this bigger mission.
Mhm.
And I think, when you have a really big why like I do, yes, it makes sense, but that doesn't mean like you're like, oh my God, I would really love to buy that big dream house right now. But, all right, I'll
Yeah.
see you in a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Um, I am curious as we kind of wrap up, and I could just ask you questions all day. So thank you for going with all of
Yeah.
the things. We went all over the map.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think your legacy is. Like, what do you want that to be? I know you talk a lot about women health and you've kind of woven it through in the podcast, but what do you think your legacy is?
I think like first and foremost, my legacy is my daughter. And so, I know we are the generation that will heal. You know what I mean? Like I do a lot of inner work to heal generational small t trauma, disbeliefs in myself and my own abilities, and because of what has been passed down through generations. And so she's my legacy. If I heal, she will be more healed and live a more abundant life. And
Mm,
so that's number one. And then I think number two, yeah, I think my legacy will be selling this company, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, and showing other women that what's possible and healing, helping a lot of women feel amazing in their lives. I think these small things like taking magnesium, it's going to change someone's life, right? Who knows if they'll remember me or if they'll just remember the really good tasting magnesium within that. You know what I mean?
yes. As far as, your legacy, do you think that being a business owner has helped you heal and not just from the products themselves, but has helped you heal in other ways?
Definitely. Yeah. I think entrepreneurship, or if you're an ambitious woman, um, it forces you to heal.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's a big mirror. Okay. So I have a tradition on this podcast that I ask whoever I'm interviewing to leave like a quote or piece of advice for the next guest, not knowing who it is. So I'd love to share the quote that was left for you, or just like the piece of advice, and then give you the opportunity to do the same.
Great.
So my last guest said, at the end of the day, the only person that you have to live with is yourself. And there's a lot of noise surrounding whatever it is that you want to do. Whatever you want to do, there's going to be somebody saying something about it, but you just have to live in complete alignment about what you want and be really honest about it. Be really brutally honest about what you want for yourself, because that is the only thing that is going to make you happy at the end of the day. And it has to be about that joy piece as well.
I love that.
There's
Definitely
kind of a
need to
lot
hear
in
that.
there, but I thought
Yeah.
that was timely for the conversation too. Honestly, I feel like
Oh
these
my
quotes are
God.
kind of just flowing in the right direction. So,
Yeah. I love that. I needed to hear that a lot. Well, I thought of the quote that I used to have in my AOL like away message. And it is
I love it.
so funny that I thought this as like a 16-year-old kid, right? But the quote was, live life to the fullest, never regret, and always risk.
Ooh, that's okay. If that was in your AOL, like, bless.
Bless up. I don't know how I was that wise at 16, but apparently I was.
That's so good. I like the
Mhm.
risk piece because so
Yeah.
often we play it so safe and we think that that's the thing that's going to save us, and it's not. Ah,
No.
that's so good. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that. And then finally, just anything else that you want to share with our listeners. I know you've got a lot happening with Gut Personal. Where can people
Yeah.
find you and learn more about you and the work you're doing?
Yeah. So if anyone wants to try out any products or take our quiz to get even more personalization, go to gutpersonal.com/women. You can use the code women at checkout to save, which is just for your podcast. And you can also do gut testing too, So if you're someone who has lots of gut issues or hormonal issues, we have both types of tests where you can learn more about your body and invest in your health and say yes to that. I'm Bridgitte Mallinson on Instagram. You can find Gut Personal on Instagram too, and we'd love to say hi and support you and yeah, all the things.
Ah, so perfect. And truly, like, this is honestly a product I have been using. Like, I was telling Bridget before this podcast, I was giving out somebody else's code for a while because I like it so much that I was so excited to share it with other people that I didn't
Yeah.
care whose code I was giving out. I was just like, here, go use this code. But we have a code now. And so it's code women if you do go to Gut Personal. And honestly, any of their products, I have used, I think, almost everything at this point.
Oh, good.
And there's certain ones that are definitely like staples. They have different ways that you can order them. I love that you can like have it on the auto order so you don't even have
Yes.
to think about it for busy people like me.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I can't say enough good things about the quality of the products that she is producing. So, thank you for being here. Time is so like, personal and is our biggest asset that we have on this planet. So it is truly an honor to have you and to have you share some of that with us.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
Thank you for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I just have one quick favor to ask of you. There is a really simple way that you can help support me and help support this show, and that is to hit that follow button on whatever app you're listening to the show on. I'm trying really hard to level up the content and deliver unique value and amazing guests, and just hitting that follow button is the magic that will help continue to empower that. And remember that the world deserves to hear your voice and your stories, and you deserve a place at the top.